Hey there, Horse Center fans. Matt and I are back with another exciting edition of the show. Matt, we're going to run down the Breeders' Cup.
We sure are. We've picked out half of the Breeders' Cup winners that particularly were interesting to Brian and I. So I hope you enjoy the show.
We think these are the biggest stars from the Breeders' Cup. Watch it all right now here on Horse. Welcome to another edition of Horse Center, everyone. I am Brian Zipsy, and as always, I have the terrific pleasure of being joined by my co-host to the East Coast. That's Matt Schiffman. How are you today, Matt?
I am good, Brian. The pleasure is mine, and it's great to be here on Horse Center to take a look back at the 2020 Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, another Breeders' Cup has come and gone, Matt. That's 37 by my count. Let's put this Breeders' Cup to bed in style. Folks, what we're going to do today is we're going to run down the 7 biggest stars, Horse Center's 7 biggest stars. There were 14 stars. There are probably more than 14 stars. But we're going to run down our 7 biggest stars from this year's Breeders' Cup, and we're going to do it countdown style. So we're going to go 7 to 1. You can start guessing who we have 1, maybe 2 or 3. While we start, Matt, you ready?
Let's go.
Let's do it. Number 7, Matt, is a horse I think has the potential, mind you, but has the potential to end up being the biggest star of anyone on this list. And that's saying a lot, sir, but Essential Quality has done nothing wrong to this point. He caps off a perfect season with a perfect run in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Yep, 3 for 3. Son of Tappet, winning the Juvenile, which of course automatically stamps him as the Kentucky Derby favorite in 2021, especially considering, as you said, Brian, the 3 for 3 record, beating a really good juvenile field this year. Some years the juvenile field is not real good from top to bottom, but this was a good juvenile field. Fractions were fast. Essential Quality sat back, got in good position, and coming down the stretch was a clear winner of this year's juvenile.
Yeah, clear winner is right, Matt, because I know that long shot Hot Rod Charlie took over the lead early in the stretch, but I don't know about you, but I always felt that Essential Quality rallying on the outside had him measured. And this was a farther back. You mentioned the quick fractions. This was a farther back Essential Quality than it had been last time in the Grade 1 win in the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland, where he was quicker to the pace. Maybe he was a little less green. Maybe he was a little bit more able for Luis Saez to do exactly what he wanted. He still showed enough tactical speed, I thought, to get a really good position in the middle of the pack on the outside, and that proved crucial as he unwinded a very nice rally on the turn and then into the stretch. Down the stretch, he proved best, Matt. He's got a win at Churchill Downs. You remember his mare, Delightful Quality, who ran second and third. She wasn't really a big winner, but she ran second and a third in a lot of stakes in New York a few years ago. As a Son of Tappet, you would expect the classic distances to be up his alley. Like I said, he broke his maiden at Churchill Downs. 2 Grade 1 wins now in his 3 races. Speed figures went up each successive race he ran, so there's a lot to like here. Tactical speed, but can come from a little farther back. 142 on Friday was a good time for the mile 16th, a little faster than the fillies ran. Everything points to this horse being a strong contender next year as long as he stays healthy for the classics. It also begs the question, did he jump right over Jackie's Warrior? Because Jackie's Warrior clearly was the leader of the 2-year-old division going into this Breeders' Cup Juvenile. I think he jumped over Jackie's Warrior with this win. What do you think, sir?
Yeah, I think so. Also, if you want to compare trips, and if you want to compare pace setup in the race, certainly those both went to the advantage of Essential Quality in there, and Jackie's Warrior is a terrific horse, but obviously leaves the question of 2 turns and longer distances hanging out there in terms of the Triple Crown races. Are there good things ahead for Jackie's Warrior? I have no doubt about that next year. And back to essential quality. Also, as a son of Tappet, he figures to get much better as a 3-year-old with maturity.
Yeah, Tappets generally do tend to get better with age. So to see this Godolphin homebred this good so early is, it promises a lot for his future, and it's kind of a retribution a little bit for Godolphin because they had a homebred last year for a different trainer named Maxfield, who would have been one of the favorites for the Breeders' Cup, probably the second choice, just like Essential Quality was on Friday. And Maxfield didn't get the chance to run in the Breeders' Cup. This time they got their chance and they took advantage of it with Essential Quality, Matt. And I got to say, this was the second winner of Future Stars Friday for trainer Brad Cox. And Brad Cox would go on to have 4 winners of the Breeders' Cup, tying a record. And that's my segue into our number 6 star of the Breeders' Cup. And that's Nick's Go, Matt. The son of Painter really was nowhere to be seen until last month when he threw in a monster performance in winning an allowance at Keeneland. Brad Cox really wasn't thinking Breeders' Cup before that allowance win. All of a sudden, he's a dominant winner of the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile.
Yeah, Brian, you said until that allowance race. Well, quite frankly, Nick's Go was, nowhere to be seen until he changed to the barn of Brad Cox early in this year and had a win in February, COVID-related time off in between, then that big performance. Both of those wins were front-end wins, and all of a sudden, Nick's Go, who was my pick going into the Dirt Mile, has turned into a front-running juggernaut. And in the Dirt Mile, the fractions, Brian, that this horse set, 21 and change, 44 and change, 108 and change, and then 120 and change for 7 furlongs out of the mile. And at that point, he was so far ahead of the rest. Nick's Go, as a bettor, I was surprised that Nick's Go was such a short price. But then on the other hand, Brad Cox was on such a roll from Future Stars Friday that I think that helped drive down the price on Nick's Go also.
It reminded me a lot, frankly, of last year. Spun to Run threw in a prep that, you really had to look at. He beat not much in there, but that he took that prep. That was so impressive, front running. And then he comes to the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile and does it again in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. That's exactly what Nick's Go did. This horse was a horse, we got to say, he was 0 for 8 last year, the son of Painter was. 0 for 8. Of course, that was his original trainer, under his original trainer, who was Ben Colebrook. Now he's 3 for 3. Matt mentioned the win earlier this year. That was in February. It was impressive for his new trainer, Brad Cox. But that was back in February. And then we heard nothing from Nick's Go for a long time. And now these 2 awesome races at Keeneland. Yeah, I think the most impressive thing, too, Matt, was the fractions. I will say this about Nick's Go. He's got 2 lifetime stakes wins. 2 lifetime stakes wins. So, he did come from kind of nowhere, yet he was still favored in this race, which says a lot about how impressive he was since he changed barns. Last year at this time, he was running 10th in the Commonwealth Turf at Churchill Downs as a long shot to complete that 0 for 8 season. Totally different horse. Brad Cox this year, 3 for 3. Huge performance in the Dirt Mile.
That's for sure. The magic of Brad Cox, full force with Nick's Go.
Yeah, and another just awesome front running performance was turned in a little bit earlier on the card, Matt, and that came from Gamine. And this was nothing new from Gamine. We have a lot to say here about this daughter of Into Mischief. But if you look at her 3 performances at one turn in a row, the Kentucky Oaks, the loss in the Kentucky Oaks is sandwiched in there. But her 3 performances in the 1 mile, 1 turn, Acorn at Belmont, then the 7 furlong test at Saratoga, and the 7 furlong Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, which she turned in at Keeneland, and for my money was the most impressive of all. And that's saying a hell of a lot when you consider how good she was in the Acorn and the Test. Just an awesome performance she ran Saturday in the Filly and Mare Sprint.
She sure did, because I'll tell you, Brian, Serengeti Empress came into the Breeders' Cup at 120% readiness, if that's possible. And she looked good in the race. She got out of the gate. She got the lead early on. But, you know, as I was writing down my description of this race, in the end, Gamine was just too good for Serengeti Empress, who did hang on for second in there. When Johnny V asked Gamine to go, she went and drew off to an impressive performance with the second highest speed figure of the entire Breeders' Cup weekend.
Yeah, and I'm ready to call Gamine. You know, I was skeptical about 2 turns, and it kind of played out in the Kentucky Oaks, where she was clearly third best behind She Dares the Devil and Swiss Skydiver, of course. But I'm ready to call her the best sprinter in the country. And again, that's saying a lot, because there's a lot of good male sprinters out here. But these 3 races she's turned in. This race was 1:20 and 1/5. You know, there were a lot of track records going on Keeneland on Saturday, but 1:20 and 1/5 is pretty crazy time. And Serengeti Empress ran a winning race, Matt.
Yeah.
But in the end, 6 1/4 lengths, and the ease in which she did it, Gamine was just too much, too good. Serengeti Empress was game, held on for second, like you said, but too much Gamine. Now, she's had 2 drug tests, and these drug tests are a little bit subjective, for lack of a better word, because we're talking about minute traces of drugs maybe that are more along the lines of painkiller than performance enhancing, although I would say any sort of pain-killing drug is a performance-enhancing drug, at least in my mind it is. So there are questions. Of course, she's trained by Bob Baffert, who had a bad year with positive tests. He swears he's going to clean that up in the coming months and years, but who knows? Does the 2 drug tests take anything off of what you saw at the Breeders' Cup, or anything off of how you feel about Gamine?
Oh, and I don't take this the drug test out on Gamine at all. I think her performance in the Breeders' Cup is a testament to that, as long as there isn't another positive. I think what's going on with all the drug positive is a reflection on the trainer, and Gamine was just too good in the Breeders' Cup to not respect that performance.
Right, and I am an advocate. I think this sport still has a long way to go to cleaning things up and making this a more fair game for everyone, but also a game that the wagering and fans can trust. So I come down on all these positive tests for Bob Baffert, but you really can't hold it against the horse. And maybe her 2 drug tests were in no ways performance enhancing. But yeah, Baffert's got to clean things up, and we've got to clean up the sport. So I want to make that clear. But Gamine, I'm like I said, I'm ready to call her the best sprinter in the nation. And Matt, I would have to say the best turf horse that ran in America in 2020 is a filly that only ran in America once, because I was just, I was pretty high on her going in, but the performance by Tarnawa in the Breeders' Cup Turf, I thought was an awesome performance considering everything. The daughter of Shamardal just blew the doors off her competition down the stretch. She won going away. She only won by length, but she just inhaled her competition. What's so impressive to me is the fact that Channel Maker just had things all his own way through dawdling early fractions. And for this filly, who's 4 for 4 with 3 straight group or grade 1 wins now, to come from way back off of this pace, Matt, I was floored by the performance.
Yeah, and especially keeping in mind that it was Magical who Tarnawa beat in that race, and Magical got a perfect trip for her running style. She likes to sit mid-pack, and that's exactly what she did in the race. She got first run at Channel Maker and was able to take care of that one and get the lead in terms of that matchup pretty handily. But as you said, Brian, when Tarnower made her move, and she was 8th early on in the race, when she made her move, she went by Magical pretty easily. And the fact that the margin was one like that didn't matter. It was the way it happened in the stretch. She was a clear winner in there. Got trainer Dermot Weld finally a Breeders' Cup win, and it happened in impressive style.
Yeah, first Breeders' Cup win for the veteran and top-notch Irish trainer Dermot Weld, so that was nice to see. I might argue with you a little bit that Magical getting by Channel Maker was not easy. Channel Maker had a ton of horse, and why wouldn't he, being alone on a 115 and change in there? And and Tarnowell was farther back than 8th. Now she was 9th. She might have been last for a second even in during the race. So she was way back. She was back there with the German filly, and she just turned it on wide, a little bit wide trip, but she just mowed him down. Huge performance. Good news is that the filly, who's 4-year-old this year, she was a nice 3-year-old, but obviously a 4-year-old. She's become as good as any turf horse in the world. She'll be back next year. They announced that she'll be back as a 5-year-old, and maybe we'll be lucky enough to see her back in America next year. All right, Matt, if we were talking just popularity, if this was a popular, you remember back in high school when everything relied on popularity, maybe middle school and into high school where popularity was so important. If this was a show just about popularity, I have no doubt that this would be the biggest star of the Breeders' Cup. I'm talking about Whitmore. People loved seeing the 7-year-old Whitmore win the Breeders' Cup Sprint.
Hey, as an old man myself, I was happy to see the old guy win the Breeders' Cup. It was his 4th try, I think, at the Breeders' Cup Sprint, with a horse that we all know has had a fantastic career. I love closers in sprint races, and that's what Whitmore was all about. But I gotta tell you, Brian, that was a great ride by Irad Ortiz in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. He didn't give Whitmore more work. He didn't just sit in the back and hope to make a big wide late run. He took Whitmore on a ground-saving trip, and in hindsight, you could tell that Irad was loaded with confidence because he went inside and he knew he had a ton of horse, and he waited for things to open up, and they did open up. And congratulations to Whitmore on that fantastic victory.
Yeah, there's a couple things that struck me about this race, and the ride certainly was one of them, because Irad Ortiz saved ground with Whitmore. It was a track that generally was a little speed favorite. It was super fast, and I think being down on the rail was a good thing. But more often than not, I think the advantage was for the speed horses. But Whitmore was one of those able to rally. He came from pretty far back, but beautifully moved up on the rail, and then he just so easily, smoothly tipped out a little bit off the rail in the stretch, and he was much the best. I think just about everybody was happy to see this 7-year-old son of Pleasantly Perfect, who's been in the Ronnie Moquette barn ever all along, win this race, Matt. We talked about this horse. In fact, he was the horse we picked, Matt, about 5 years ago for the Delta Downs jackpot. 5 years ago, and we still have the pleasure of talking about Whitmore. Of course, he was on the Derby Trail. He ran in the Derby back in 2016. But ever since, he's been a sprinter. And as Matt said, he's been in 4 consecutive Breeders' Cup sprints. That's a feat in its own right. He did run 8th in that first effort, but ever since, he's been 2nd, 3rd, and then 1st in the last 3. The last 2, he didn't come all that close. He was 2nd and 3rd in those Breeders' Cups, but he didn't come all that close to winning. So it was great to see the Warrior Whitmore finally get his Breeders' Cup Sprint in his fourth try. Good on you, Whitmore, Ronnie Moquette, and all the connections of Whitmore. I think another popular winner, Matt, was the Breeders' Cup Distaff winner. Monomoy Girl was away from the races, folks, for 18 months. Monomoy Girl, after that 18-month break, has been 4 for 4. These 4 wins were really never in doubt. All Monomoy Girl does is win.
Yeah, that's for sure. And she did it again in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. We were all looking forward to that big matchup between the top 2 females, between Monomoy Girl and Swiss Skydiver. And regrettably, it didn't materialize because Swiss Skydiver just got a terrible, terrible break out of the gate, and things just, basically lost all chance at that point. But when Swiss Skydiver wasn't in there threatening Monomoy Girl, it was another one of those instances where it looked like Monomoy Girl was a winner every step of the way. A very careful trip, a few paths wide all the way around, and coming down the stretch, there it was, another big victory for the Brad Cox, another Brad Cox trainee. And Monomoy Girl is going to be the champion older dirt male for sure. And I don't know, Brian, I think we'll probably end up as a finalist in the Horse of the Year ballots for the Eclipse Award.
Yeah, I agree with you, Matt. I think the Horse of the Year finalists are likely to be Authentic, Monomoy Girl, and I think Improbable will get the nod over the 3-year-olds who didn't have things go well in the Breeders' Cup. 'Tis the law. Swiss Skydiver would be a good candidate, but it's a shame that this wasn't the showdown that we wanted, the completely fair race that we wanted. Swiss Skydiver unfortunately just didn't break well, and that really did hurt her chances. And then she tired after making a move on the inside. But I got to tell you, I just don't think she was going to beat Monomoy Girl. I don't think any female dirt horse is going to beat Monomoy Girl. And I would even say an informed Midnight Bassoux. We'll never know because they never raced after the 3-year-old version. Monomoy Girl beat Midnight Bassoux, finished ahead of her for the 4th time in 4 tries. But Monomoy Girl just doesn't lose. Matt, she's had 15 lifetime races. She's finished first in 14. She finished second in the other. And that second was her second lifetime race in a stakes race at Churchill Downs. So she hasn't lost a race in 3 years. 14 times she's finished first to the wire out of 15 races. She was another one who she was a little farther back and a little farther outside maybe than you would have guessed. But yeah, like you, I thought she was always comfortable and always looked like a winner in here. Her second Breeders' Cup Distaff winner. So she joins elite company by achieving that feat with a year in between on that long layoff. I want to give kudos to Spendthrift Farm, who paid big money. I'm going to give kudos to Spendthrift Farm this time. They paid big money, $9.5 million for Monomoy Girl, and they will bring her back. If all goes well, they will bring her back to run at 6 years old next year, and that is very good news. Another Spendthrift runner, Matt, came up huge in the Breeders' Cup Classic. We thought it was a deep, strong field in the Breeders' Cup Classic, but it turned out to be pretty much a one-horse race.
Yeah, it did, Brian. Hats off to Authentic. The biggest performance in the biggest race. They got the biggest speed figure ultimately in there. And, thinking back on it, the Authentic's victory in the Classic was almost a duplicate of his victory in the Kentucky Derby. If you look at it, breaking from the outside, jockey Johnny Velasquez getting Authentic to the lead, and then the anticipated pace pressure did not materialize, Brian. I thought Global Campaign was going to go up and run with them. I thought Improbable was going to go run, but it just didn't materialize. And just like in the Kentucky Derby, Johnny V was able to get the lead with Authentic, get him some time, get him to relax and get a breather in the 10 furlong race. And at that point, quite frankly, it was all over because his stablemate tried to make a move coming down the stretch on the outside in the Classic in Improbable, but he couldn't get by, much the same way in the Derby that Tis the Law tried to make a move on the outside and get by Authentic, but it wasn't going to happen. So Authentic, looking back now, has won the two biggest dirt races in our country, in the Kentucky Derby and the Classic, and I don't know, has got to turn out to be close to a unanimous Horse of the Year choice.
Yeah, I like I mentioned with the finalists, I think there are other good candidates out there, but I can't see any horse but Authentic getting this award. Hey, listen, Matt and I have not been the biggest jump on the bandwagon of Authentic this year, and he's proved us wrong. He's gotten better as the years gone on, but on the other hand, he ran in 7 graded stakes races this year. He's had 7 starts. They're all graded stakes races. He won 5. He finished second in 2. And the 2 seconds were good performances. So he's put together a fantastic year, and he's gotten better as the year's gone on. Like Matt said, Kentucky Derby, Breeders' Cup Classic double, that's not been completed by many horses, folks. Very few horses have completed what horses like Unbridled and American Pharoah before him were able to do. But Authentic did it, and in both times he used his speed, his high cruising speed, to pretty much dominate those 2 races. Like Matt says, very carbon copy-ish of the Kentucky Derby and the Breeders' Cup Classic. Improbable, the best older dirt male in the country, ran a very good race, but Authentic just had a ton of horse as he rolled to the wire, more than 2 lengths ahead in 1:59 for 1.25 miles. Just a great time. A great completed double in 2 of his last 3 races, the Kentucky Derby and the Breeders' Cup Classic. He is the Horse of the Year. I will mention now, I'm going to go back on my kudos to Spendthrift a little bit, because this is a horse who's getting better. He's only had 8 lifetime starts and he's already retired. That's disappointing for American racing. He reminds me a little bit of Beholder, who was so good early but got better. Even in her 3-year-old years, she got better, and then she got better as an older horse. Same colors, similar running style. Beholder just kept coming back year after year. Spendthrift throws all this money, tens of millions, literally tens of millions, at all these broodmares this week, but we don't get Authentic back as a 4-year-old. So that's a little disappointing to me.
Yeah, I agree. That's certainly true, but I guess financially they think he's going to make more money at $75,000 a pop is the stud fee in the barn than he was going to make on the racetrack in 2021. But I don't know. There's a lot of money to be made from a horse like this all over the world, shall I say? In at least in the beginning, I'm surprised that they aren't doing the let's take a shot at the Pegasus or let's take a shot at the Saudi Cup and then go to the stud barn. But hey, what can you say? Congratulations to Authentic on a fantastic year.
Absolutely. They're going out on top, Matt, and I guess we all want to go out on top, but Authentic did it. Matt and I both believe he is our Horse of the Year. Folks, that was our 7 top stars from the Breeders' Cup. This is Matt and I. This is our version of capping the Breeders' Cup. Hey, Matt, we talked a little bit about Eclipse Awards here. Tarnawa, 1 race in America, or Rushing Fall, who was very good through a more, limited, but much more complete season in the United States. Who's your filly, your female turf champion this year?
Rushing Fall. I just am not in favor of the one start championship campaigns. Although it'll be interesting to see what happens. Yeah,
because Tarna was so good. And by the way, Rushing Fall and Harvey's Little Goyle ran very good races to be second and third behind the European filly in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf, as were so many other good ones, Matt. I probably shouldn't mention them because I'll leave somebody out. Golden Pal is just an awesome turf sprinter. Vequist, who I liked quite a bit, proved best when she got 2 turns in the juvenile fillies. A lot of good performance. Aunt Pearl, what a turf filly she looks like she's becoming. But anyway, Matt, that's our show. I want to get a parting shot from you, though, before we wrap it up.
Folks, I hope you enjoyed the Breeders' Cup. I think Brian and I gave you some interesting horses to possibly have used in there to have a successful weekend. We'll be back every week as we head into the last major races of 2020 and then winter racing. So we'll see you then. And of course, I want to thank our producer, Brett Workman, for putting together the show.
Thanks to Brett, as always, and thanks to all of you watching us. We know our viewership ramped up during the Breeders' Cup. We appreciate it. Hopefully, we'll keep a lot of you interested throughout the year. We have early Kentucky Derby talk coming on HorseCenter, Matt. We also have some big races late November, early December still to talk about this year. So there's a lot to look forward to here on HorseCenter. Folks, if you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel here on Horse Racing Nation, please do hit that little red button. It helps us out a whole lot. I also want to thank our sponsor, our partner, the best contest site out there. That's Derby Wars. Folks, we'll see you right here next week back on HorseCenter.